Welcome to the Apex Perspective podcast. My name is Aryan Mohindra, and today's episode is sponsored by Mind and Body Mastery, in which we provide CEOs and founders with tailored health programs. Now, I started my personal health journey at 240 pounds, and something I quickly learned is that health consequences come very fast and hit very hard. To date, I've lost over 70 pounds, and now I guide CEOs and founders to leverage location independent movement, such as walking, which is how I use which is what I use to lose over 70 pounds and lead them to live longer and healthier lives. If you'd like to learn more about that, check out mindandbodymasteryfitness.com and you'll save years of mistakes on your own health journey with the free resources there. Today we have Dror Tamir, founder at Holy Locust. Dror, can you tell me more about your experience and the backstory that led to Holy Locust?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here. And let me just add that I also lost about 40 pounds just by walking and running. So I absolutely share your experience. My story with locusts in general started when I was very young, around the age of 4 or 5. I was born in a kibbutz. A kibbutz in Israel is what you can call a small village that lives as a community. And my grandparents told me stories about the 1950s in Israel. At that point of time, Israel suffered from locust swarms that flew in and destroyed all the crops. And while the kibbutz members used to run to the fields trying to scare the grasshopper, the locusts away, they saw other Yemenite and Moroccan Jews coming to the same fields, collecting and eating them. So as a very young boy, I learned that locusts are food for many people around the world and that they are the only kosher insect in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forwarding almost 40 years into the future, I'm already an entrepreneur in food and nutrition for about 10 years, and I'm learning about the global protein challenge that we are all aware of right now. And I
Mm-hmm.
started looking for alternatives because that's a huge problem, and we as an entrepreneurs, we love big problems. We like to solve them because that's a great business eventually. And I remember that story from my childhood about locusts, but I'm an accountant by profession. I know nothing about locusts. So I ran to Google and I learned that locusts are nature's most efficient protein source. They contain 72% complete protein with all essential amino acids, and they are packed with essential nutrients such as omega 3, omega 6, iron, zinc, vitamin B12, and more. They are also the most widely eaten insect in the world by over 1 billion people across Asia, Africa, Central America, and the Middle East. And they are considered a delicacy. So in some markets, market price can reach $400 per kilogram. So that's
Wow.
way, way more than beef or chicken, but a much better product. The only problem was supply. There was no supply. The only source of supply was collection in the wild. So I said, and that supply is limited to a very short period, up to 4 weeks a year. So I'm an entrepreneur, huge problem, great solution. All I need is the technology to cultivate and mass rear locust. And I set on that journey 10 years ago. I founded a company, raised a lot of money from investors, and we are now the first and only company in the world that have an intensive farm with climate resilient climate that enable us
Mm-hmm.
to grow year round locust at a very high efficiency.
Right.
But as much as we were successful with the technology, there is still one problem. And the main problem is how you sell the product. Because although 1 billion people do consume locusts, most of the population around the world do not consume them. And we are
Mm-hmm.
trying to sell to that population. And we tried a lot of options, a lot of niches. We tried sports nutrition because that's the best product and athletes can consume. We tried all kinds of supplements, bakery products, dairy products, a functional ingredient in the meat industry. A lot of great opportunities, but each one of them had a lot of pros, but also cons, which prevented us from getting into the market. And then I remembered again that story from my childhood that started 45 years before. And that was the story of locusts being kosher. And we
Mm-hmm.
started looking into it, and we did some market research in Israel and around the world. We talked not only to Jewish consumers, because it's pretty simple because locusts are kosher. We also talked to Christian consumers because locusts were the food of John the Baptist. in
Hmm.
Matthew 3:4. And by the way, we also talk to Muslim consumers because locusts are also the food of Muhammad and his followers in the Quran. And what we learned was pretty amazing. When you try to sell locusts in to consumers in the developed world, over 90% of them will say, yuck, we don't even want to try, not even
Hmm.
mentioning buying the product. But once you mention to faith-driven consumers the fact that this is a biblical product that was a traditional food in the Bible, that barrier drops from over 90% to way below 50%. And not only they are willing to try the product, they get excited about it, they are willing to pay. They actually want to experience this biblical food. And this eventually got me to the point that I founded Holy Locust. And the Holy Locust is a company that actually provides snacks infused by locust protein. So you can say that's the future of snacks with a biblical
Hmm.
twist.
I love it. And tell me more about the product itself. I'm, as you know, I'm health oriented. Can you tell me about the caloric content and about the health benefits of locust?
Okay, so let's start with locusts themselves. This is an amazing animal. First, they grow really fast. When they hatch, they're about 2 millimeters in size. After 29 days, we harvest them at the size of 6 centimeters. So they grow
Hmm.
fast. Now, the entire animal is edible. Nothing goes to waste. So you consume 100% of the animal. So you
Okay.
can say, oh, we get very close to a zero waste process. And the animal is just packed with protein. They contain 72% complete protein with all essential amino acids.
Hmm.
Fat content is about 8% only. And
Hmm.
50% of that is the fatty acids, omega 3 and omega 6, 2% and
Hmm.
2%. So you can get from locust more omega 3 than you get from salmon, for example.
Okay.
Uh, and beside that, they are rich in iron, zinc, folic acid, magnesium, potassium, calcium, vitamin B12, vitamin B3, vitamin E, more than any other plant based or animal based sources out there.
And the protein content, can you repeat that, please?
72% protein.
Okay. How many
So
grams is
if you
that?
look at the industry, so sorry, if you look at the industry, this is what the industry calls protein concentrate, but that's the
Mhm.
natural way of locust, 72%.
I love it. And what, in terms of grams, could you approximate per product piece?
Okay, it depends on the product. If you eat a whole locust weighs about 1 gram. So you
Hmm.
get 0.72 grams of protein for each locust you consume.
Hmm. And do you know
So
what the
10,
caloric content is per
excuse
locust?
me.
The calorie content.
I know it's per. I can show you. That's the product. That's the product of whole locust. So
Okay.
for this jar of about 7 grams of locust, you get 28 calories. So it's about 400 calories per 100 grams of product.
Let
And
me tell you
it
something.
comes,
That's very
yeah,
good. Let me I've lost over 70 pounds to date. And one of the key things you want to focus on is your calorie intake, your energy intake. It's all about energy in,
yeah.
energy out. It replicates thermodynamics. So if you want something to actually succeed with regards to your health journey, you must be watching the caloric intake, and this protein content in relation to the caloric content, it's very, very good. That ratio is excellent. So tell me more about the kind of people who typically consume this and would be consuming this.
Let me just add one more thing. You just
Sure.
mentioned calorie count and fat content. There is one thing we saw, it's just an indication. It's an early research we did based on mice. We fed mice with the locust protein to see if it will support their growth, and it did. But we also learned that it improved their metabolism, mainly reducing fat level in their bodies. You can actually see that the mice that were fed with locust protein compared to mice that were fed with soy or casein milk, they were slimmer. And that's what that was super impressive. And this is mainly because of the chitin. Chitin is the exoskeleton of the animal, so
Mhm.
it binds very well with fat molecules. And since it is not being digested, it just take it out of our body.
Okay, excellent. And tell me more about the kind of people who would be consuming this and would be a great fit for this product.
Okay, so this first brand, Holy Locust, is mainly focused on faith-driven consumers. We are mainly targeting consumers that have deep faith in the Bible or the New Testament.
Mhm.
It's mainly Christians and Jewish and later also Muslim consumers. And for them, it will be an opportunity to experience food from the Bible times, because for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, most people are not consuming locusts anymore, which were quite common at the Bible time. That's the first step. The next step, we will focus more and more on the health benefits that this product can provide. We just started discussing it. There are many more. It strengthens the immune system, it supports growth of children, it improves the development of the brain and the guts and the functioning of those systems. It can support recovery from cancer treatments, from sports injuries, and more. So we will be conducting more and more clinical trials to prove all those claims, and then we will be targeting those consumers, health conscious consumers.
Love it.
The
And
next
tell me
step,
about the
and, and then we have another step, and that's mainly based on the R&D that we are doing. And that R&D is focused on improving the production efficiency. We
okay.
see the indication that we can produce the locust protein cheaper than any other animal-based protein. So the long-term vision is eventually to even produce a very cheap, high-quality protein to feed the population around the world, mainly focused on Asia and Africa.
I love that. I love that perspective and that ambition. Now, can you tell me about the specific faith-based perspective with regard to locusts?
Well, again, this is something that I see as the greatest challenge we have in the insect as food industry.
Mhm.
Perception. Most consumers around the globe find eating insects as taboo, nothing, something that they will not do in any case. And in order to overcome it, you need to find out that added value. And usually, when you talk about alternative proteins, you talk about athletes, sports nutrition, providing an alternative protein that will be better for their performance. And we took a different direction because we noticed that this is an amazing opportunity for consumers or for faith driven consumers to actually relate to their belief, to their faith, to their past. And this drops down the barrier, the challenge to overcome the yak factor.
I love that. And so now let's shift a little bit to your more about mindset. What drove you to start this company?
Well, I can say that since I was young, I had this inner flame to become an entrepreneur. This is based on my grandparents that established this kibbutz that I'm living in, and also established the food industry in this region. My
Mhm.
grandfather actually established two food companies, and he was the CEO. So for me to become an entrepreneur, that was pretty clear. And also, my grandmother was the cook of the kibbutz. So my real connection is actually directly to the food industry, nutrition, and agriculture. You can say it's running in my veins. And beside that, I also want to connect this to part of the Jewish tradition or Jewish culture. This is something that we have in the Jewish culture that is called in Hebrew tikkun olam. Tikkun olam in Hebrew means fixing the world, making the world a better place. And it's not about us, it's about us making the world a better place for others. So
Mhm.
if you combine that heritage, the Jewish heritage and my family heritage, it just drives you directly to what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provide the world a better protein source that will be healthier, that will be more sustainable, and will be efficient enough to feed everyone.
I love that. Yes. And What about the what about this mission of providing a healthier source of protein and a highly nutritious product? What was it that was particularly compelling about locusts for you?
I think the reason that I chose to work with Locust is the combination of my heritage, the stories I heard about locusts as a child,
Mhm,
and the connection to the Bible, because it
mhm,
is the only insect that is permitted in the Bible as kosher. And beside that, I will also add that this is actually the most widely eaten insect in the world. So when you analyze the potential of insects to become food, you realize that you should work with the product that most consumers around the world prefer. And the
mhm,
last part, and this I only learned that along the way, this is the best nutritional content. The locusts provide a superior nutritional content compared to any other insect, and also in taste and flavor. And we're talking about food, so it have to taste good. The locusts have lower fat content, and because of that, they taste much better.
mm, mhm. And what principles guide your decision making when it comes to your business and in life?
I think it's two things that leads me the most. One is if I want to make the world a better place. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do things that will be better. So for example, I can take a burger and replace it with an imitation based on soy and pea, but it will be probably an ultra processed product that is not healthy and not sustainable. So I
Mhm,
will not do that. So for me, this is not a real alternative because it's not as good as the current alternative that we have. So that's one thing. I'm trying to do something that is better by every aspect. The second one, um, I don't want that business to be that will rely on donations or investments eventually. It have to be a sustainable business. So from
mhm.
day one, I'm looking for the way that this business can make money, can sell, can generate positive gross margins, and be sustainable. Because if it will not be, that business will die. So I can have great ambitions, but that business will not survive.
Understood. Understood. And so now let's shift a little bit into the health conversation. And this is where you can share your perspective as well. But I want to get your first opinion on what do you think is the biggest barrier for CEOs and founders to enter into health and fitness?
Wow, there's a lot of them.
Mhm,
um, Let me say that first one, I think that the health and fitness market are led by, I would say, marketing, not
mhm,
science, not business. It's mainly marketing, and that marketing is actually becoming really problematic because it tries to push the product as hard as they can.
mhm,
Sometimes, many times, these are ultra processed products that are not healthy or can even be risky to some of the consumers. Let me just say, the way I look at the recommendations of protein consumption, I think it's way beyond what we need. And I'm part of that industry.
I
So I
agree.
think that, okay, so you understand what I'm saying. It's and consuming too much protein is really not healthy. It could actually really hurt you.
Mhm,
And most of us, I will say over 99% of consumers can just rely on a basic diet. If it's a healthy, regular diet, we don't need anything else. And this
mhm.
is what I believe, and I'm running on a daily basis, at least 20, 12 kilometers. I'm not consuming additional protein. I'm just replacing the protein with other alternatives.
And I love that perspective, but I wanted to get more into what you think is a difficulty for CEOs and founders to get into health and fitness. This could be time, this could be the fact that they're traveling a lot, this could be any of those barriers. What do you think is the biggest one?
Well, I would say that the greatest challenge to get into that industry is again the marketing aspect because this is a market that is being led by brands. And it's not the ingredient that you have, it's not the product, it's the brand. And to build a brand in that market, you need tons of money. And for a
Oh,
startup,
okay.
when you get into
Sorry.
this new
Sorry to.
market, you need
Mhm.
you need tens of
So
millions of dollars which you don't have.
what I meant to ask you is for CEOs and founders to get into shape, to lose weight for
Oh,
themselves.
sorry for. Okay, I didn't understand the question. Okay, and I can answer that because I've been the CEO and founder for 20 years, and
Yeah.
I stopped doing any exercise. You are completely focused on your goal, and the goal
Hmm.
is to develop the business, raise money, develop the technology, sell the products, and you forget everything. You forget about yourself, you forget about your family, you forget about your friends,
Hmm.
and and it's really hard to understand that you actually need to free 1 or 2 hours per day and take care of yourself.
Hmm.
And you don't understand that until it's too late, because when you're not healthy and you become unhealthy, I know that it's too late to change. It's really
Right.
hard to make a difference, and people don't understand that. And while you're trying to build a business and make it happen, you are actually killing yourself.
Hmm.
And we don't see it. We just don't see it. We don't understand. We always say, okay, I'll develop the business, I'll have a great success, and then I'll have time to live. But no, you will not be able to do that.
And what you said was very, very important. I think that the biggest problem in health for CEOs and founders to lose weight and actually get into fitness. The biggest problem is understanding what drives change. Everyone assumes that you need so much time, you need so much effort, but my perspective is that you can integrate health and fitness into your current life. You do not need to make extra time for it. You can integrate it to what you're already doing. Do you remember when I mentioned early in the podcast that the primary way to make change in your health is to burn more calories than you're taking in? So if you understand that, you have to leverage the right principles. And let me show you something important. I lost over 70 pounds right here. I
Wow.
lost over 70 pounds by leveraging walking. So walking is something you can do anytime and anywhere. The key thing is to
Correct.
do is burn more energy than you're taking in. So the primary thing I focus on is integrating health into CEOs and founders' existing lives already. So I want to get your perspective. How doable is walking for a CEO and founder to integrate into their current lifestyle?
I absolutely agree with you, and people will not believe how simple it is, because you can just make the change by changing small things that will not impact your let's say daily tasks. For
Mhm.
example, if you can walk to work instead of drive to work. Instead, in any case, you get so much traffic, you can actually save time by walking.
Mhm.
Every time you have a chance to walk, even if it's just 200 meters, do it instead of driving the car. If it's 1 or 2 kilometers, it's even better. When you get to the parking lot, if you park below your building, don't use
Mhm.
the elevator. Walk the stairs. Use the stairs every time. And you can just add more and more burnt calories to your daily tasks. And it's simple as that. Another thing, from time to time, when we usually as CEOs, we sit in front of the computer and we just answer emails.
Mhm.
So every, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, get up, do a short walk, 100, 200, 300 steps. It will free your mind, it will get your blood pumping, it will get you energized, and you will actually be more efficient.
Right.
As simple as that. And of course, try to change your habits. Work as much as you want, but let's say many of us at the end of the day just sit in front of the TV and watch some stupid TV series for 30 or minutes or 60 minutes. Go out and walk for 30 minutes. This is all you need.
Mhm. And so this is important, but the way I view this is that you shouldn't have to make extra time for health and fitness. When you're on a phone call, you can walk. When you're listening to a podcast, you can walk. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to make extra time for it. I'm saying that in your existing life, there are opportunities for you to integrate walking without making extra time for it. That's my perspective. Anybody, I believe, in the world can make a physical transformation, extend their lifespan, and live a higher quality of life by integrating into their lifestyle. That's my perspective. So that's why I want to conclude with regards to the health conversation. But now I want to get get an insight onto your next year plans with regard to Holy Locust.
Well, for me, the next year is mainly focused on sales. We
Hmm.
launched the Holy Locust less than 6 months ago in the US market. And for me, the next step is just accelerate our growth, expand our sales, expand our distribution network. I'm mainly seeking to collaborate with leading influencers in the faith-driven market, meaning I want to collaborate with pastors. I want to collaborate with faith-driven athletes or Hollywood actors to spread the
Hmm.
world, build legitimacy around the brand, and bring it to more and more consumers. And at the same time, if I'll go back to the health discussion we just had, be able to conduct some clinical trials and emphasize more and more of the brand on the health benefits that it provides to consumers, way beyond just the belief.
Awesome. And I'm gonna definitely see that go through, and I'm excited to learn more about that in the future. Can you tell me more about where people can find out more about Holy Locust and yourself?
Absolutely, it's pretty easy. First, they can find it on our website, www.holylocust.com, and they can look for us on all social media. Just look for Holy Locust. Um, oh, we just had a missile going off here, an interceptor. So Israel is in a war, so we had live interceptor going off, probably a missile coming from Yemen or Iran. That's the
Oh,
noise. We know to identify.
okay.
Yeah, well,
I'm
that's part
sorry.
of the fun of living in Israel at this point of time.
Oh man, I'm very sorry about that. I hope everything it will be okay. All right. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tag your LinkedIn down below, and I'm also gonna tag your website. Again, I apologize for what's happening, and I hope everything becomes better.
Yeah, so that's fine. Let me just finish. What I was saying, we are on social media, Holy Locust on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And
Okay.
they can actually enjoy. I'm conducting a viral, you can call it a challenge, a viral campaign. It's what I call the 1,000 days John the Baptist diet. I'm on
Mhm.
day 126 on a daily basis. I'm taking a video of me eating locust or locust-based products, and I'm showing it to everyone.
Excellent. And people can keep up with you all on your socials. I'll go ahead and link your website down below and your LinkedIn. Thank you for joining me today, Dror.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, and keep on what you're doing. I believe in what you're doing.
Thank you. This was Aryan Mohindra and Dror Tamir. Thank you for listening.